Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Griffith, I know during your tenure at NASA, you put a lot of focus on international cooperation, but you were cautious about putting international partners on a critical path, especially from the lessons from the International Space Station program. What recommendations would you have for the future administrators regarding international cooperation?
Well, sir, the way that I would characterize that, and that's a superlative question, when we talk about critical path, we have to understand what we mean. Certainly, our international partners in terms of our lunar program were, I'll use the quote, on the critical path for a lunar base. Because the United States certainly wasn't going to build everything we needed for a human outpost on the moon, far from it. When I say that it's a good idea to keep partners off the critical path, and that may apply as well internally to the country as externally, a given piece of hardware, a given mission support function should probably, as best you can, be confined to one entity. So we were going to build the heavy lift rocket. Maybe the habitat would be furnished by the European Space Agency. Maybe a laboratory would come from Japan, something like that. Maybe the power system would come from France, which, you know, is, as you know, 80% nuclear domestically. So my comments about critical path have, I think, in the past often been misinterpreted. When we're doing international programs, we need everybody's contribution. But I don't want to build a car by having, you know, the tires come from one manufacturer and the engine from, I think you get my point.
Right. Yeah, I appreciate that. You know, growing up during the Apollo time period, NASA and those astronauts were an inspiration to me. And that my life was surrounded by the idea that we were exploring the unknown, that we were doing something that a superpower does, that we were taking risks and we were beating the odds of things that people said that could not be done. There were more reasons that we could not go to the moon than there were that we could. But I think that helped define American exceptionalism, is that we set our mind to do it and we did it. And I think that inspiration set us on a path to further greatness. And I know it inspired me. It inspired a lot of my schoolmates. What can we do going forward so that our space exploration will have that type of impact on the generations that are following us? It seems, I know that there is a lack of inspiration, I think, in our education system, because a lot of children are asking, where are we going? What are we doing? What am I here for? At least during that time period of my life, there was a destiny. We had a purpose. And for Colonel or Dr. Griffin, anyone, will we ever see that time again?
Well, thank you for the question. I think that's great. And obviously the mission we had, now I was inspired by the Gemini astronauts as well as the Apollo astronauts. I wanted to be one of them as a young child, and it led me into the study of math and science and eventually becoming a pilot in the Air Force. And
I was Air Force as well, so thank you.
Yeah, and it was just seeing what can be done. I wanted to be part of it because to me, it was just a great adventure. And to answer your question, though, we need to teach our teachers, because every astronaut cannot be in every classroom. Right. Now, I learned about the space program from a magazine. There's not enough astronauts to get in all the classrooms. I wish there were, but the teachers need to have continuing education, because I think some of them are a little bit afraid to teach space because they think the kids might know more than they do. So some of them, they want an astronaut to come in the classroom, but otherwise they don't want to talk about it. So education for the teachers, so they can get pumped up. And it doesn't have to be done by the U.S. government. A lot of private entities, educational groups around the country teach teachers, and I think we need to do more of that, because that'll get more young people involved, not just in the space program, but we're becoming, so much more technical. We need kids in cyber, we need kids in engineering, energy. It's everything, but you can tie it all to the space program.
That's right. I mean, as I go back and look at movies such as The Right Stuff, the one that Tom Hanks did, the series, what emphasized to me was the ingenuity beyond just the engineering, but the thinking outside the box, the development of the lunar landing module, how we broke every other design because we needed to make it lighter. Whoever thought of a pilot standing up? But these are the types of things that we just broke the mold and decided we're going to do it our way. And that's the type of thing I think that we need to see again, something to inspire this next generation to move forward and take what the hearing we had yesterday was the discovery of magnetic waves. Well, one of the questions was, how is that going to be a practical application? Well, in my sense, the guys who discovered it are not going to be the ones who will take it and make a practical application, but it's the next generation will take that discovery and then match that to something. And I applaud you for what you're doing. I still admire those who have the courage to break the surly bonds of Earth and go and explore the great unknown. And thank you.